Okay, so one thing that a lot of gamers just love today are these big, vast open worlds that you can just explore and immerse yourself in. I think for years they were really kind of like these dream games. But we've gotten to that point where we're seeing a lot of these big open worlds now, and developers, they're getting better and better at making these style of games. And there's really a lot of great ones on the market. So what I want to do today is take a look at 10 different open world games that's available on Xbox right now that I think are very, very much worth your time. Now, what I tried to do with this list is to compile mostly newer games that runs and looks great on the Xbox Series X as well as the Xbox Series S, though most of these games are available on the Xbox One as well, so do kind of keep that in mind. If I, however, don't mention one of your favorite games, though, do let me know in the comments below. I really always welcome that because not only am I going to read it, but it also gives other fans the opportunity of discovering yet another great game recommended by you yourself. So yeah, don't be shy, hit those comments below. But without any further ado, let's just kind of get right into things. So, to start off this list, I have Dying Light 2 for you zombie fanatics out there, and while it's true that there's already a lot of zombie games in the market, there's no doubt about that, but Dying Light 2 offers an enticing blend of a massive apocalyptic world to play around in, it's got gruesome melee combat, and it also has a parkour system that gives you a lot more freedom in how you traverse the world. It's also a lot of fun. On top of all that, Dying Light 2 has its own unique twist on the crowded genre by not only making zombies and humans enemies like you see in other games, but also the absence of light itself changes how the game is actually played. Zombies not only are more aggressive at night, but you yourself, you have to manage your own infection while away from UV light. It really just adds this extra layer of tension and also a new dynamic that you don't really see in other zombie games like it. Now, here's a game that I feel is very much overlooked, being Immortals Fenyx Rising. But you know what? Let's just go and kind of change that today. You know, right away, it's pretty clear that some of its inspiration came from Zelda Breath of the Wild's gameplay. There are several similarities between the two, including its gliding, its climbing, the mounted traversal, and even how the world is laid out with various dungeons scattered throughout. I, however, think that it does all of these things very well, but Immortals isn't just some simple clone and nothing more. Yes, it does take some of those great aspects from Breath of the Wild, but it still does manage to be its own thing as well. It has real heart and soul to it. Its story is based on Greek mythology, and it's actually quite humorous as you talk to its various historical figures throughout the game. Surprisingly, I very much enjoyed its story, and that's actually one of the things that really stood out to me about this game, but I also think that it's a joy exploring the world itself. There's just always something that kind of catches your eye in this game, whether that be a new enemy, a puzzle, or a dungeon, and it just always feels like you're being rewarded for your curiosity. Now, I don't think that a list like this would be quite complete without Assassin's Creed. The Assassin's Creed franchise really is just a staple to the genre for good reason. Ubisoft has just nailed down that open world experience, and it shows in their most recent entry being Assassin's Creed Valhalla, where you play as a Viking this time around. It does once again mix in that RPG gameplay, which I know not everybody necessarily likes for this franchise, but it does give you that steady progression while you explore its just absolutely ginormous world. There's a lot, and I mean a lot, to explore in Valhalla. On average, actually, it does take around 60 hours to complete just its main story, and there's plenty more to uncover beyond just all that. Now, I do also want to point out that both Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Origins have been updated for the Xbox Series as well, and they do look quite phenomenal to this day, especially thanks to that update, so you might want to go check those out as well. Origins is set in Egypt, and then Odyssey, which is probably my favorite setting in the series, you do play as a Spartan mercenary. Alright, so this next one here isn't quite as big as some of the other games in this list in terms of its world size, but the Yakuza and Judgment franchise are some of the most dense entries on this list, with lots and lots of things to do in their small-scale cities. I'd also say that they're some of the most atmospheric, being set in Japan, and just wow, do these games absolutely absorb you into their world. It honestly feels like you're closer to Japan when you play these games, but in Yakuza 1 through 6, as well as Judgment and Lost Judgment, these are all beat-em-up style games with some light RPG elements to them. Yakuza Like a Dragon instead is a turn-based RPG, but outside of its gameplay change, all of these games have some of the most gripping stories in video game history with twists and turns around every corner. I cannot, and I mean I cannot, applaud their stories enough. Now, as for the exploration, you can roam their small-scale cities and do a number of different things, including dining at different restaurants, run your own cabaret club, or even play old Sega arcade games. There's plenty to do alongside their, again, just absolutely amazing stories. Now, if you are new to the series, though, you might wonder which one to start out with, and I'd say either start with Yakuza 0 or with Judgment. Those, in my opinion, are the best starting points. Now, here's a bit of a unique entry for this list, being Forza Horizon 5. Now, you don't usually think about racing games when talking about open world, but I mean, Playground Games. Now, they somehow managed to do that in, quite frankly, an extraordinary way. In fact, I'm going to go so far as to say that I think there's a very real debate on if Forza Horizon 5 is just the very best racing game of all time, especially when you combine how fun it's to race in and then also how fun it is to explore. It's certainly up there among the best racing games ever made. But in Forza Horizon 5, you get to travel some beautiful and really just stunning scenery in Mexico. You can race up a volcano, check out some of its local towns and cities, go through desert storms, find old abandoned and hidden cars, or go through its lush jungles. It also has a good online community that I think kind of makes the experience even better, as it is a shared world experience that combines both real racers and AI drive guitars based on your own friends list. They even added a Hot Wheels expansion, which changes everything in just this crazy and chaotic fun way. Seriously, if you like racing games, do yourself a favor and check out Forza Horizon 5. Again, this is just one of the best racing games, period. So, Cyberpunk 2077 has had a bit of an interesting history. Its launch issues are well documented. We all kind of know that this game probably shouldn't have released when it did, as it had various bugs and issues, but I think we've kind of gotten to the point now that I can recommend this game because despite those launch issues, this game was really always good. I don't really think that was ever the problem for Cyberpunk. It is a good game. It just had some problems, and now that they have fixed a lot of its original issues with various updates and actually made the core game even better with some new additions, I think now is the time to jump in. Cyberpunk does have one of the more fascinating worlds because there's really nothing else quite like it, and its futuristic setting where you can attach cybernetics to your created character that gives them new abilities. It's an interesting take for an RPG open world. I also really enjoyed the story itself. Now, one of the main attractions is Johnny Silverhand, played by Keanu Reeves, which, by the way, he does a fantastic job, but there's plenty of other characters that you'll also find yourself truly caring about. And because you can impact the story with your own decision-making, it really just absolutely absorbs you into its world and its setting. So yeah, I think I can easily recommend this game now, as it really is one of the better open-world experiences on the market. Now, next up here, I have Xbox's flagship title being Halo Infinite, and this really is just such an interesting game as of right now. Yes, there's some controversy tied to its multiplayer because the amount of content it's gotten post-release, but with that said, Halo Infinite is still, yes, it is still an excellent game, especially when it comes to its single-player campaign. For the first time ever, Halo is an open-world game, and while I was originally skeptical if they could actually mesh its core first-person shooter gameplay into this immersive open world, 343, they did pull it off with just absolutely flying colors. Not only is this world fun to explore with its new grappling hook that really basically makes you feel like you're Spider-Man, but it also has one of the better stories within the Halo franchise. There were some true emotional beats this time around that really makes you feel connected to the characters in just a completely new way. And the entire cast, they were very well written. I actually would put Halo Infinite as one of the better Halo campaigns just all around. And because of its open world layout, there's plenty of other things to do besides just its story. There's plenty of combat scenarios that you can engage in. You can take control of various enemy locales. There are some hidden bosses that include special weapons, and then you have the hilarious grunts that are really more humorous than ever before. So Halo Infinite is kind of like this good mix of old school Halo with the more new school stuff, and it really blends very well into this open world experience. Okay, so Red Dead Redemption 2 didn't actually release this generation. I did try to stick with mostly newer games, but this game is just far too good not to include on this list. I'm actually going to go so far to say that this game is just a masterpiece. The attention to detail from Rockstar is absolutely insane, and it's actually one of the best animated games that I've ever seen, hands down. Everything is just so finely crafted, and even when it comes to the smaller things, whether you open a drawer, get in a vehicle, or just with whatever, even your character, his hair and his beard, they'll grow if you don't maintain it. That attention to detail, though, it might make the game a little slower paced, but once this game grabs you, it never lets go. You do play as a cowboy in an old-time gang, so you don't really play as a good person per se, but the story turns out to be amazing the further you get into it. You really start to care for the characters. The entire cast of characters, for that matter, are phenomenally well written and voice acted, and I was actually, quite frankly, blown away by the end of its lengthy 50-plus hour campaign. It really is that good, though, but I mean, it goes beyond just its story because, of course, this is an open-world experience, and actually one of the most realized open worlds at that. There's a lot to do. You can hunt, there's tons of side quests, you can fish, rob banks, and the list just kind of goes on and on and on. I don't say this about many open worlds, but when it comes to this game in specific, Red Dead Redemption 2, it really just kind of gives you that illusion of a linear crafted game because that's how finely detailed it is. And I don't think that I can give an open world experience a better compliment than that. Alright, so I'm technically cheating a little bit here with this next one being The Witcher 3. Yes, this game is a little bit older by this point. Again, I did try to stick with mostly newer games, but the reason that I'm including this one on this specific list is because there is a next generation version coming sometime here soon. That way you can play it natively on the Xbox Series X or the Xbox Series S, depending on which one you have. So, I mean, as long as that version holds up well, then you're really talking about one of the best open world RPGs ever made. So in The Witcher 3, you play as Geralt, which I guess you could kind of describe as a mercenary in the sense that he takes on different jobs of hunting down monsters and magical beings. Because he's mutated himself, he specializes in taking these monsters down with acrobatic sword-based combat, light magic, and then different potions that he concocts. There's also going to be different times where you use his abilities to investigate and track down these different monsters. Now there is a little bit more of a grand story here that is very enticing, as he also tries to track down and save some different people that he loves. But one of the things that's really always stood out to me is the morally gray area of The Witcher. Yes, it's got a great story, it's got great characters, it's got great combat, and the world is fun to explore, but you also make your own decisions in this game, and there's not always just this clear-cut good direction to take. Really, sometimes it just kind of comes down to choosing the lesser of two evils, and I think that it makes you truly think about what kind of impact you're going to have on that world. I don't know if there's really another game that feels better in terms of player choice and how it makes you think about things, and I think that that's a true testament as to how good its story and characters are written. But really, I mean, that's kind of the thing about The Witcher 3, because even the side missions are very well written, and I don't even usually care about side quests myself. I typically just kind of focus on the main story, but when it comes to The Witcher 3, sometimes it really feels like the side quests are actually better than other games' main quest line. It's very well done. The Witcher 3, though, is a must-play open-world experience, especially if you like story-driven RPGs. And at the number 1 spot, the game that truly, and I mean absolutely, utterly blew me away is none other than Elden Ring. Now, I don't even know if I can quite describe how much this game hooked me. Now, I rarely do this, but I did 100% this game, and I put like 100 hours into Elden Ring in like a 2-week span. Now, again, I never do things like that, but when it came to Elden Ring, it's so well crafted and has such rewarding gameplay that, I mean, I honestly, I could not put this game down. In fact, when I finished this game, I felt a sense of solemn, and what I mean by that is that I still wanted to play more. It was almost saddening to me that I had completed it. But that's how masterful this game is. I've actually considered buying Elden Ring again just so I can 100% it again on another platform. Yeah, I might possibly have a problem here, and you know what, I still might actually do that. But with that said, Elden Ring is a brutally challenging action RPG. It kind of reminds me of an older 90s game, but thrown into more modern times with more advanced gameplay. It's kind of like this alternate history in a sense that what if games would have continued in that direction where they don't hold your hands, where they reward you for investigating its world with secrets. I mean, you're going to find optional bosses. There's going to be those hidden but powerful weapons. You're going to feel that sense of accomplishment for completing a boss. You can uncover more layers to its story by piecing its world and items together. And then to just top everything off, you just have that addictive and challenging gameplay. The thing about Elden Ring is it just always makes you feel like you accomplished something. It always rewards you for the things that you do. Now, of course, this is a From Software game, though, so you do expect that challenging gameplay, but even then, I'd still put Elden Ring right at the top of From Software's best work ever, and that's already an achievement because pretty much all of their Soulsborne games are absolutely fantastic. I think one of the best parts about this game, though, is not just with its world that George R.R. Martin helped create, but also how much player choice is involved with this gameplay. There's a lot of different builds thanks to its many weapons and abilities that allows you to choose what type of combat best fits you. There's no one perfect way to play this game, and that's going to be very important considering some of its very challenging bosses, to say the least. Now, in terms of story, I do actually want to kind of highlight this as well, because I don't think that From Software games are necessarily super well known for their story. But if you truly, and I mean truly, pay attention and put its world together, it actually has a very good story as well. It's just a matter of how much time you want to put into that aspect. But Elden Ring, though, from top to bottom, this game, it's not just a masterpiece, but I'm actually going to say that it's one of the best games that I've ever played, and I don't say that lightly. At the very least, in my own personal opinion, it is one of my favorite games ever, and I cannot recommend this game enough. This might be one of the easiest recommends that I've made on this channel up to this point, so if you haven't played this game already, definitely do so, as long as you don't mind a little bit of a challenge, because it is definitely a challenging game. Anyways, though, that's it for this list, but hopefully this was a fun video for you all, and better yet, maybe, just maybe, you found a game worth playing yourself. Again, though, let me know some of your favorite open world games in the comments below, but other than that, make sure to hit that bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.